actually just took a photo of you accidentally. I didn't, it wasn't on the video portion yet. Welcome back to Shun for Good Reason. I'm Anna.
And I'm Tess.
It was a long week, Tess.
I'm tired.
It's fair, me too. I even called you a couple times and I was still tired. But we're going to continue our series of Where Are We Now and How Did We Get Here with a How Did We Get Here? You're going to want it. We're going to talk about Salem witch trials.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
Witches.
Oh.
Which is which?
Specifically, the Puritan reaction to moral decline, or perceived moral decline.
Is that what it was?
That's part of what it was,
Oh,
yes.
okay.
It was a perceived moral decline. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Mathers, and we're going to talk a little bit about Harvard, hopefully, and we'll see where we go from there. But the emphasis in the how did we get here portion of this is going to be how historically Christianity has reacted to broader societal movements and what that looks like. And when you see how Christianity has reacted to broader societal movements in the past, it's a lot easier to understand why they're reacting, how they are reacting, when they are reacting, specifically now. But this one is based on a really overblown reaction to something that really did not need to be reacted to so wholeheartedly. And I see this a lot in middle schoolers. And you react to middle schoolers regularly because you work with them. I react to middle schoolers regularly because we have 3 of them. And yesterday, our middle schooler who had recently broken their ankle was supposed to be focusing on the CMAS Colorado standardized tests that they had just started yesterday, but instead was panicking on text to me about how they were on crutches now and couldn't respond appropriately if a class member was hurt because they're the one who takes care of their class, and now they're just panicking about how everybody's going to hate them if somebody gets hurt and they can't help because they're on crutches, and it hurts to move on crutches and they can't go fast and they can't get down because they can't use their leg, and it's going to be bad, and then everything's going to happen, and it's an entirely hypothetical situation. They're the only person.
No, nobody got hurt?
Nobody got hurt.
Oh, I didn't even realize it was a totally hypothetical.
No, it was fully hypothetical. It was an hour-long text thread
About
trying
if
to
somebody
talk
got hurt.
down a middle schooler who was convinced that everybody was going to hate them if a different hypothetical student got hurt and they were not the first person to respond.
Oh, yeah.
Things can get overblown.
Well, we always want everything to be about us. That's why I spend a lot of my day telling kids, you're in charge of yourself. You need to worry about you. You need to not worry about your friend and whatever they're doing right now, because you're not in charge of that person. Yeah. You're only in charge of yourself. It's a huge coping tool that we teach to kids at my school. Because it's funny, because like by making ourselves the center of the world, we pull everybody into that with that gravity. And so I'm the center of the universe, and that means I'm in charge of you, and I'm in charge of you.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're the center, and they're all, but that just means excuse me, you don't have any boundaries, then
Well,
you're not actually taking care of
I see this
yourself.
in social media too, specifically with those people who were raised with us in evangelical circles and have that main character mentality to them, where they feel that if they don't weigh in on every single social media thing or political thing or world happening thing, if they don't weigh in on that, then the world is going to end and everyone's going to hate them.
That is social media, not even just those circles.
Exactly.
Like that's the whole
that's the whole point. You're the main character.
The whole angry comment section is people trying to be in control of other people by using power through anger, usually, and lack of empathy, to control the conversation so that they're right and everybody else is wrong. And they think they can prove that by being angry about it and mean about it. Right? Which is not true. Right? It's a total fantasy, just like our kid's fictional person who got hurt. Right? They can't actually control what anybody else thinks. And I mean, you might have an effect on it, in that crazy, weird world, because people are so lost in social media land, I think, a lot of the time. And so somebody being really angry can affect somebody else, right? It can, people can feel shamed, or they could feel like, oh, this person has a really good point because they sounded really angry, which is not a good reason to agree with somebody. But
well, obviously somebody feels really strongly, so they must be right?
That seems to be the thought process.
Well, and we did talk a little bit in the last episode about homeschool curriculums and homeschool
Oh, geez.
Yeah. These homeschool meetups, what did we call it? Conventions. These homeschool conventions and co-ops. And in some of the ones that I went to, they were Southern Baptist, and you would have a really sweaty, really angry, slightly overweight white man. No beard, no facial hair, because facial hair was evil at the time. He would get up.
Pre-hipsters.
He would, and he would be really angry about something. And because he was really angry, every time he stopped for breath, somebody would say amen or hallelujah.
Right.
And a lot of that was viewed as right because they were angry and God had supposedly put it on their heart to be angry about this thing. So they must be right.
Yeah.
So
well, they could tie two sentences together that were loosely Bible-based and maybe had some Bible references, and it didn't necessarily have to be logical.
And often it wasn't.
But just had to just sound good enough.
Yep.
Yeah. That it could end with an amen.
That's true. You gotta end it with an amen. If you don't end it with an amen, where are you even coming from?
Yeah.
You're supposed to say amen, not
amen. I try really hard not to. I still do sometimes.
I know. Sometimes I do with the weirdest things. Like somebody be like, "You've got to put this and this medication in there," and I'll be like, "Amen."
Yeah.
And it's weird for everybody, and nobody understands what's going on, and we all get really embarrassed and try to forget about it, pretend it never happened. But
that's what Anna thinks happens.
Yeah. So, back to the Salem witch trials. We are all the way in the late 1600s, Puritan New England. And according to the curriculums that we covered in the last episode, this time did not exist because we skipped from 1492 to 1776.
Pretty much.
Essentially. So the late 1600s never happened. There was a very deep belief in
not in America anyway.
Exactly. There was an active Satan trying to persuade people of things, and there was a fear that society was becoming morally corrupt. And per the people who were actually making pamphlets in America at the time, that definitely had nothing to do with the challenges that were coming and the overthrow that was coming in the English church and monarchy at the time. Because we were separate from that in Manifest.
Already?
Yes.
Before we were,
yes.
Yes.
So the economic shifts were already coming at this point between trading with England and or becoming independent in ourselves in America. And there was something that the moralists of the time called declension, which was...
I do that every time I go to the bathroom.
Oh my god. You're bringing this into a SpongeBob state of mind, and I am not a fan. Why do I put up with you?
I don't know.
Declension. Are you done?
I don't know.
You see, there is a difference between declension and declension. And what you're thinking about right now is declension and not declension.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Anyway, I think I'm done now.
You're not. Declension was the decline of strict religious adherence. You good?
You gotta get that out of your system.
Oh my god.
Anyway.
The core belief here was that if something bad happens, it's because of a specific moral failing or spiritual failing.
I don't understand.
That's what declension is.
You have a moral failing.
You don't understand because you're thinking about the toilet.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, I'm trying. You have a moral failing, so you leave religion? Is that
No, we're not there yet.
Oh, okay, so I don't understand.
Okay.
What is declension?
So there were two cultural anxieties that were prevailing in the late 1600s in Puritan England. They were the economic shifts toward trade and independence and
the need to go to
declension.
Okay.
They were worried about economics and they were worried about moral failings.
Oh, okay.
With the core belief here of a lot of them being if something bad happened either in trade or in the bathroom,
That can get nasty.
it must be because of a spiritual failing.
Okay, so moral and spiritual being equal, more or less.
Equal, but not necessarily the same.
Yeah.
So these people actually believed in a lot of cases that they were doing the right thing. They were morally superior to their neighbors.
Well, it's like
they were doing better about everything.
It's
than
like
everybody else
a
was.
hurricane came, so you must have done something wrong.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, or an economic downfall came, so you must have done something wrong.
Yeah.
Or the people around you weren't believing in Jesus hard enough, so you must have done something wrong.
So just like now.
Just like exactly. This is how we got here. So the Salem trials were not a random happening.
For sure.
This was a reaction to a perceived moral failing and an attempt to reconcile that, essentially.
The moral failing.
Uh-huh.
What was the moral failing?
Reconcile the moral failing. It was a decrease in spirituality and an embracing of Satan.
I feel like we should play taps now. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh
Dun, dun, dun.
So we are seeing a lot of this now. We're seeing a lot of like moral outrage and that sort of thing. In a lot of ways we're seeing this. But Salem is one of the early examples that we can look to. It's also potentially an example of mass hysteria and psychogenic illnesses and suggestibility, especially in communities that are isolated, like our homeschool communities that we were speaking about previously. And things that play into this are power dynamics, gender roles, and social outsiders being targeted for this sort of thing.
The weird people.
The weird people. But theology was what gave the justification and the language to this whole movement in Salem. First off, I'm going to ask if you truly believed that evil was an active and visual presence in your community. Would you stop it? And how would you stop it? And how far would you go to do it?
Yeah. If evil were
physically present.
Like
if you could look at one person, one thing in your community and be like, that is the evil one.
So basically,
it is
that
corrupting
person is
everything
Hitler.
Around it.
Is this a would you kill Hitler question?
No, you have to take it down farther.
Down farther.
You have to take it down way farther. Not Hitler, because Hitler was in Germany. Hitler was a continent and an ocean away.
Okay.
You can't do that.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously you can't. I like that whole time travel thing is way out of perspective. If this street right here in front of our house had one thing on it that was obviously a manifestation of evil incarnate, how far would you go to destroy it?
Gosh, that's super hard question for me.
Yeah.
Just because I struggle just with the word evil, because I feel like it's so overused for, so like, I would have to ask, is the evil dangerous? I guess it would have to be if it was actually evil, and not like Doofenshmirtz evil. See, it's so difficult, right? Because like I feel like so much of the time when people talk about evil, it's Heinz Doofenshmirtz and my evilinator. But like if it was so like parameters are, it's genuinely dangerous, bad, as far as I know. Evil.
As far as you know, this is evil incarnate. How far are you gonna go?
If I was I guess as a human, if I was 100% convinced it was actually evil, I'd probably do a lot. I don't know what a lot is.
But you'd probably do it, right?
I feel like I would be particularly hard to convince myself. But if I was convinced that it really was evil, well, okay. Let me. I guess in my mind, how I think of it in 2026 in a way that I would perceive something as evil is if what happened in Minneapolis this year happened on my street. I would be doing what they did. I would be out there saying ICE needs to be gone, and I'm gonna defend my neighbors. So I do whatever it took to defend them if it came to that. I don't think I have any doubts about that. Okay. So I guess from my perspective, like I would do a lot. Like I'd really fight if I genuinely thought something was evil and I was protecting other people.
Okay. And we are going to...
I know, you're going to flip it all around on me, but...
I am. And that's fine, because you know I was going to all along. We're going to go back to middle school again. So, you're in middle school and it's 1689.
I am not... Okay. I don't want to be in middle school again.
I know. Okay.
So, I mean, jeez.
You got this. I believe in you. That vocal training is going to come into play any second now. Okay, so there's two families. The Glover family, the Goodwin family. The Goodwin family are fairly well-to-do. The Glover family, not quite so much. The Goodwins have 3 children. The Glovers have 1. They each have a middle schooler. And the Goodwin's middle schooler watched the Glover middle schooler do laundry, because the Glovers are first and foremost washer people. They come and wash linens for the more well-to-do members of the community. That's their whole thing. That is where they move on to from just specifically making gloves.
I'm glad you said something because I was gonna.
I know. They started making gloves. That wasn't lucrative enough in Puritan New England. So they moved on to washing. The Goodwin's daughter accused the Glover's daughter, both of them are in middle school at this point, of stealing some of the linens. Mm-hmm. The washerwoman's mother, so the Glover mother, verbally insulted the Goodwin's daughter, the middle schooler who had accused the other middle schooler of stealing linens.
Darn you, child! I don't know.
Kind of like that, except the Glovers only spoke Gaelic.
Oh man.
And I don't know how to say that in Gaelic, and I'm not even gonna try to.
Darn you, child!
Tess,
That's terrible.
you're gonna get burnt at the stake.
Waffling.
Gloving, not
Steaks
waffling.
are delicious.
You're a problem. You're real. Anyways, the Glover mother verbally berated in Gaelic the Goodwin daughter. The Goodwin mother overheard this and thought, she's cursing her in her native tongue. So, soon after this, the Goodwin daughter, the one who had accused the other one, started experiencing these apoplectic fits. She got hysterical. She would be like crying. She would be inconsolable. She had 3 siblings, and eventually all of them would have these fits of hysteria. And their mother blamed the woman who had berated her in Gaelic because she thought that she was cursing her. So this went far enough, because Goodwins were related to the magistrates, that they had to bring in the Glover family to defend themselves. And the Glover woman, with a Gaelic interpreter, admitted that she had made essentially voodoo dolls of these children and was tormenting them with spit. I don't know. And she was speaking Gaelic. So nobody knows if she actually did it, because the court records are bad.
Oh. That makes more sense.
But they sentenced her to death for witchcraft. Cotton Mather, visited this woman in prison to see what was going on. He was a...
His mother named him Cotton.
His mother named him Cotton, yeah.
That's the whole thing.
It is a whole thing, actually.
My mama named me Cotton.
She did. And he was
That's
studying to be a pastor, essentially, at this point. He went and visited her to see if he could get her to confess, to see if he could save her, make her a good Puritan. It didn't work.
Invite Jesus into your heart.
And he was one of the people who was supposed to interrogate her while she was in prison.
Oh. Invite Jesus into your heart or else!
Exactly. And then they executed her. She...
It's a big or else.
Yeah. She warned Cotton Mather that if they killed her, these children would not get better. And they didn't.
Right. Behavior is communication.
Exactly. So they murdered Mrs. Glover. Nobody knows what happened to the daughter, essentially. And then the Goodwin children never got better. But the oldest one was actually invited to live in Cotton Mather's home. They were referred to as the haunted children. And he was going to depossess these children by praying and fasting for them and getting the oldest one into his home and making sure that she was going to be okay. Eventually, she stopped having hysterical fits, and we're all really happy about that. But
she grew up?
Yeah.
What a notion.
Essentially. But Cotton Mather actually ended up writing over 200 pamphlets in the late 1600s. And a lot of them had to do with this witchcraft thing that he thought had happened. That God knows if it had actually happened. But he thought it had, so he wrote a bunch of pamphlets about it. And that's part of where the Salem witch trials comes from in the first place.
Basically, it comes from the fact that nobody could speak Gaelic in Puritan North America. Well, the wrong people couldn't speak Gaelic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
But it's this, man, humans, man.
No, you got it.
But that's because that's the whole thing. They thought that Gaelic was summoning demons.
Was the devil's work. Yes. Which meant in 1689, Cotton Mather published memorable providences relating to witchcrafts and possessions. And that was all based on these children that he had seen. And this woman that he had interrogated while she was in prison for possessing the children.
So basically, you got
Through
a few
Gaelic
sped
interpreter.
kids.
Yes.
And somebody who speaks Gaelic.
And somebody who
some
speaks Gaelic.
super spiritual dude who decided to make a profit on turning this whole thing into a spiritual thing.
Yes.
And demon possession and
whatnot. Well, and this man was not just a pastor. He was, as am I, a third generation pastor. So the Mathers had gone back 3 generations as pastors and preachers and standers against the darkness and the witchcrafters.
Still decided to name him Cotton.
Yeah. Oh, his father's name was Increase.
Oh yeah, I've heard of him.
He also named one of his sons Increase.
They were really into money.
And cotton.
Well, yeah, that was money.
Well, I mean, money has more to do with linen than cotton does. Are you talking about like the physical makeup of money or what brings in money?
Making money, capitalism. That's what I'm talking about.
I was talking about like making physical money because you use linen fibers to make actual money.
Oh man.
They should have named him Linen.
I don't think they knew that then.
Yeah. So that was part of what it went into the whole thing. And then later, so there's a...
So basically, somebody's different.
Mm-hmm.
They sound different.
They sound different.
They're demonic.
Mm-hmm.
They curse. That turns into they curse these people's children. And
yeah.
Really nothing happened to the children except they had bad behaviors for a while.
Yes.
Which, like, good gracious, isn't that the most normal thing that ever happened to a human is they had kids who had bad behaviors?
Yep.
But anyway, and then they
And then he published a bunch of pamphlets about it.
Yeah.
Because it was going to make him money. And
Yeah.
we'll find out why in a little bit. But those pamphlets fed into this craze in Salem at the time. So.
Let's get there.
Okay, you got this. Okay, so there were 2 Salems. It's okay. Bear with me.
Salem, Maine and Salem, Oregon.
No, Salem Village and Salem Township.
Oh.
Salem Township is what's now known as Salem. Salem Village is now known as Danvers. They don't want.
Isn't that where Phineas and Ferb live?
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, it is actually
More or less.
because they are witches. By any rubric, Phineas and Ferb are absolutely witches. Okay. However, these pamphlets.
It's Danville, but anyway.
Damn it. No, but it was made by a man named Danvers.
Was it?
Pretty sure. I could be wrong. It's okay. Somebody cite me. It's fine. Anyways, where was I? These pamphlets finally.
Two Salems.
These pamphlets finally made it to Salem, and in Salem,
One of them.
they read this Cotton Mather's thing about.
Was it Phineas and Ferb?
Fuck you.
Phineas and Ferb Salem.
Yes.
It was.
Salem Village, not Salem Township.
Okay.
Two different things.
So it made it to Salem Village.
Yes. He wrote whole books on this shit.
Who did?
Cotton Mather's.
Cotton Mather's.
And he published them.
Not Ferb.
And they made it to Salem.
Salem.
Both
Township.
Salems.
Both of them.
Salem Village and Salem Township.
Oh.
And then a bunch of the middle schoolers in Salem Village got real angry and said that they felt like they were being stabbed by needles.
They probably sat down for too long.
They did probably.
That happens to me.
Yes.
Lazy middle schoolers.
So,
Sorry.
their names were Betty, Abby, Ann, and Lizzie.
Of course they were.
Yes. They were all middle schoolers. The youngest was 9, the oldest was 17. We're just going to call them middle schoolers for the sake of the narrative.
They were in the middle of school.
They probably didn't get to go to school. But they
point.
were accusing...
We're not in the middle of school.
They were accusing women in the township of having afflicted them.
They said the women had afflicted them.
They said the women had afflicted them.
That sounds like a grand old time.
They said that they were being stabbed by needles when they couldn't see it.
Look what Martha did to me!
They were experiencing hysterics, and they said that this all
Which is
came out of
obviously
nowhere. And yes, obviously. But this was coming at a time when Salem Village was trying to separate from Salem Township on account of Salem Township was more Anglo-centric. Yeah, more bougie, essentially. And Salem Village was a much more homeschooly sort of a vibe. They believed very heartily that spiritual things would have a lot to do physically. And they had all been reading these Cotton Mather things. And you can't blame them. Because what do you know about Cotton Mather?
He had a very capitalistic ancestry.
He did have a very capitalistic
He was a anti-Gaelic person.
He was also anti-Gaelic. Yes, good job.
He was.
Also, his father was Increase Mather,
Oh, right. That too.
the president of Harvard.
That's why I heard of that guy.
Yeah, that's why you've heard of that guy. Increase Mather was the president of Harvard. Harvard has a lot of the printing presses. Cotton.
Oh, Harvard University.
Yeah,
The land of knowledge and I don't know.
you got this. I believe in you.
And increase. And cotton.
Oh my god.
Somebody has to be the comedic relief around here.
So, Increase was the president of Harvard. Increase was kind of thrown out of Harvard because they wanted him to actually move to Harvard to be the president of Harvard and to
He was thrown out of Harvard to move to Harvard?
he was the president.
Yes.
They wanted him to move to Harvard
Yes.
to actually be super involved.
Yes.
They're like, if you're the president, you should be here. You should be.
So what did he get thrown
Involved.
out of?
And he refused.
Oh, they were. Oh, I got you.
So Cotton was like, I'm the obvious next choice. I am now in charge of Harvard. Thank you very much.
I don't know. I don't cut into that way of thinking.
Fuck you. Harvard did not want Cotton.
They didn't cut into that way of thinking either.
They did not cut into that way of thinking. At least 3 times. he put forth his bid to be like in charge of Harvard, and at least 3 times they were like, "Fuck you."
Huh. They liked Gaelic people at Harvard.
No, they did not.
Oh,
but
man.
that's entirely
That wasn't
beside the
even
point.
enough.
No, that was not enough. But he wanted to get enough notoriety for himself that he could be viewed as apart from his father. They did not, because Harvard at the time did not want a son to take over for his father. They were anti-royalty, anti-patriarchy. Like, that was not their thing. They did not want this to be the thing.
What's the family hiring word?
You got this.
Don't. It's gone.
It's okay. You got this.
I don't know. It really is gone right now.
That's okay. We'll get to it. Anyways, they did not want Cotton to just take over for no reason whatsoever, and they did not let him do
Should
that.
have changed his name to Decrease.
Right? He should have.
Change
But he
name,
didn't.
people.
Instead, he published all these pamphlets so that he could get famous in his own right.
Right.
And it worked. He got famous in his own right. But that meant that all of these people actually listened to him, which was kind of a problem. So when these girls who had actually read some of his stuff / heard some of his stuff started accusing people, what the people who were listening to them based it on was the Goodwin case that Cotton Mather was talking about, because he had taken in Martha, that middle schooler who was having hysterics. Thank you.
Yep.
Not historics, hysterics.
Yes.
She was having hysterics. He brought her in. She got better. He based lots of pamphlets on that.
And he took advantage of the maturity.
Exactly.
Ah.
Yes. So he published all of these, and they were like, "Oh, we're experiencing exactly what she experienced. Witches are taking advantage of us because of our youth." So they decided that they were going to accuse the people that they didn't like
of being witches.
Witches.
Not middle schoolers.
Yeah, they were between the ages of 9 and 17.
Yeah.
So we're just going to reduce it down to middle schoolers.
Right.
Because we have middle schooler, and this is what they do.
One of them was in middle school for sure.
At least 2 of them were in middle school. There were several of them. But they decided this is what was going to be happening, and they were going to figure it out. It was not wonderful, but the entire community of Salem Village was up for this because they had all read these.
Oh.
And this was the most interesting thing that they had to do.
Yeah.
And it showed their
they couldn't go watch The Rookie.
purity over that of the more Anglican Salem Township. They were going to prove themselves more holy.
Snot-nosed pricks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those. I have a lot of words that I'm not going to use right now.
Ooh. Oh, I thought Snot-nosed pricks was pretty bad.
Oh, it was. However, the Puritans and the Anglicans, or Church of England, shared a Calvinist influence, but the Puritans were very much against the Anglicans or Church of England because they used things like the Book of Common Prayer, they used clergy vestments, they used the sign of the cross at baptisms, and they kneeled to receive communion, all of which communicated to the Puritans.
I forget how petty
Popery. Popery. Yeah, they're doing pope shit.
Oh, that popery.
Yeah, that
not
popery.
the smelly kind.
No, not
I
the
mean,
smelly
popes
kind.
probably are smelly.
They're doing poperies. And how dare they?
I mean, I'm sure the American pope smells like hot dogs.
Not anymore.
Right, it's true. He's been exiled, essentially.
He has been exiled. He can't step
from America, not from.
As of 3 days ago, Washington D.C. threatened the Pope who was born in Chicago.
I know.
We're not touching on that right now. That's for a later episode.
But we did.
It's already in there.
He smells like hot dogs. Anyway, potpourri that's
Chicago hot dogs. They're not the same as other hot dogs, okay?
Now I just want a hot dog.
You can't have hot dogs.
What? That's the second time today I've wanted a hot dog, okay?
Okay, we should
First we were folding paper like hot dogs in class, and now we're talking about Chicago hot dogs. I want a hot dog. A good hot dog.
Okay.
Potpourri is about popes and not smelling good things.
You've got this, Tess. You've got this.
Oh no, some kind of trope.
Okay. Cotton Mather
He,
preached
that guy.
a sermon
I'm sure he did.
on the text of Revelation 12:12. Do you remember what it is?
God, no.
Woe
It's me.
to the inhabitants of the earth
All of us.
and of the sea,
Those mermaids.
for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
That's right. Angry devil, for he will not be here long.
And based on his interactions with the Goodwins and the Glovers, he said, witches have associated themselves to do no less a thing than to destroy the kingdom of our Lord Jesus Christ in these parts of the world.
That's all.
That's all.
Not to mention the mermaids.
Not to mention the mermaids. We're not mentioning mermaids.
No, he wouldn't.
Okay.
Because the witches were destroying God's kingdom.
That's right.
Somehow. They just were. He just said it, so it was true.
So
He didn't describe how. He was just like, they're doing it!
they are definitely doing it.
Destroying it! What did that have to do with Revelation 12?
Witches are destroying shit, Tess. Obviously, that's what it has to do with Revelation.
What?
So, they finally brought this to trial because there were at least 4 witnesses who said that these specific people were witches and were trying to do ill against the people of the township.
So basically, the devil's trying to devil knows he doesn't have long to live. So
Yeah.
he's trying to do as much damage as possible.
Yeah.
And he's using these people to do it.
Yes,
Is
he's
that
using
what
these witches
Cotton Mather
to do
was
it.
trying to say? Yeah,
That's
the witches.
exactly what Cotton
Yeah.
Mather was trying to
Yeah,
say.
okay.
And these middle school girls essentially decided they were totally in on it. And
Oh,
They
that's
used-
good fun right there.
they used what they called spectral evidence.
They should did anybody teach them the game of tag? Spectral evidence?
Mhm.
They really should have taught them the game of tag.
Yes.
Instead of spectral evidence.
Well, because one of Cotton Mather's pamphlets stated that when witches are going to afflict you, they will appear to you as themselves. So you can identify the witch because they've already...
Which it is yourself?
I know! Witch! It is yourself! Very Gaelic. Very Gaelic.
They will appear to you as themselves.
Yes, they will.
What do you know about that?
So if you see an apparition in the shape of a person, that is the person who is trying to afflict you. And that is the witch.
So if
So-
a person shows up,
No, if the specter of a person shows up. So what these girls had to say was, I experienced hysterics, or I felt like I was getting stabbed by needles, and I saw the vision of this person. That was the witch. The vision that they saw was the witch, obviously.
oh,
So they accused some very specific people.
that's terribly convenient.
And
That's the easiest thing in the universe. How did people not figure this out? Because they were all just... Were they
Yeah.
bored? Was it just because they were bored?
it was because they had
No,
read
they
Cotton
were mad at
Mather's
each
book,
other.
The Wonders of the Invisible World.
Oh. I didn't know he wrote a book.
Oh, he wrote several. He actually, oh goodness, let me find how many books he actually wrote.
Can I get more thing while you're doing that?
You're gonna have to pause that.
It won't pause.
It won't pause. It's okay, I can vamp while you do that.
And the fuzz wants out too. She's very insistent that I open this door for
So-
reasons I don't fully understand.
I'll speak loudly so you can hear me in the other room.
Okay.
Cotton Mather was actually a very prolific writer.
Okay.
His first book was written in 1689, which was 3 to 4 years before the majority of the witch trials. And that one was on the subject of witchcraft. Wonders of the Invisible World was published in 1692. That was his second book. And it was essentially published halfway through the witch trials. It was also based on witchcraft, and it was sent to London and published in the same year.
What do you mean based on witchcraft?
It was based on his experience with the Goodwins and the Glovers. That's what I mean by based on witchcraft.
So it had nothing to do with actual witchcraft.
Well, it had to do with what he viewed as actual witchcraft, which was what the Goodwins and the Glovers were experiencing at that point, because in his view, that was witchcraft. Pillars of Salt was written in 1699. I know very little about that. Magnalia Christi Americana was actually a 10-volume work that was, as we discussed, the Abeka books with the biographies of famous Christian people. That was his version of that. So he wrote a lot of biographies about a lot of people who he thought were furthering the Christian cause in America specifically. He titled it in Latin, but it was all written in English. One of his more famous ones was called The Negro Christianized, which was written in 1706, or published in 1706. And that was based on his slave Onesimus. And we're going to talk about Onesimus later.
He had a slave named Onesimus?
Yeah, he did. He named it.
Oh.
I say it because it's not entirely certain whether it was a male or female slave. I assume it was male.
Isn't that... I don't know. Never mind.
Yes, he named it after the New Testament Onesimus.
Okay. I thought I remembered something like that.
Yes. He named this person after the New Testament Onesimus.
Right. Who was also a slave, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
who was also a slave.
Okay.
Thought so.
And I don't like to assume people's genders, so I try to not assume that Onesimus
Yeah, I don't know.
had a penis, just based on that. I mean, it's fairly safe to assume, but it's still a little bit odd. Anyways, Corderius Americanus was the next book, a discourse on the good education of children, which was published in 1708. Bonifacius, 1710.
Don't speak to them in Gaelic.
And The Christian Philosopher in 1721. Pillars of Salt was his first published sermon, 1686, which was put in a compilation with other sermons, but the original one was concerning the execution of James Morgan, who was a person convicted of murder. Magnalia Christi Americana was considered Mather's greatest work, and it was published in 1702 when he was 39. It's got a lot of biographies and describes the process of New England settlement. It was not officially published all the way for hundreds and hundreds of years, and honestly, it's still being worked on.
Okay.
A lot of it exists
He wrote
as
a lot of
manuscripts when he died, and it's just gone on.
Posthumous.
Posthumous. Yes.
Publication.
So, he was a fellow at Harvard College from 1690. So, 2 to 3 to 4 years. Thank you. Before the witch trials. Until 1702. And he was on its board of overseers at various times. His father, Increase, was the president in 1684 to 1686. And then he had the title of rector because he would not agree to move to Harvard itself. And then Cotton, of course, tried to become the president of Harvard. It did not work, but he eventually decided that Harvard just wasn't holy enough for him.
Obvious.
So he was the one who convinced Mr. Yale to give enough money to Yale for it to be renamed Yale. So he's not exactly... When you think of these horror movies that have to do with possessions and witchcraft and that sort of thing, you think it's just this tiny little parish priest who did all of this. No, this is one of the people who was most formidable in forming Yale. His father helped make Harvard what Harvard is right now. So these aren't just weird little people.
Mousy priests.
Yeah, weird little mousy priests who existed in some tiny little church in Salem and nothing else ever happened to them. That's not how this worked. These were incredibly influential people in the colonies at this point in time.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad.
Well, I feel like you have to be influential to get to the point of famous killings.
You do. You really do.
Yeah. Famous, like, movement killings.
Mhm.
Like, it wasn't like murder, like serial killings. It was like, this was a movement of people killing other people. Like, you have to have some power and influence to get people to kill other people.
Okay. We're gonna
Gosh, that's so stark when you say it that way, but it's true.
It is. We're gonna pop over the part where he did Salem for a second. And we're gonna go into smallpox.
What?
Yes.
You're killing me.
I am killing you. But
Not
not
with
like in
smallpox.
Salem. Or like in smallpox.
There's still vials of smallpox. Anyway, that's
Yes.
another topic.
Yes, there are. But did you know that smallpox inoculations have actually existed since the 10th century?
What?
Yeah. Which is not to be confused with vaccination. Inoculation and vaccination are two different things.
Okay.
In inoculation, we essentially prick you and put some active tissue on you, and then you develop your own immunity, as opposed to vaccination, where we inject you with a dormant type of the sickness, and then hope that your natural defenses can form a defense against it.
Which works really well.
Inoculation.
We hope, because we know it works really well.
No, vaccination works really well.
Yeah, I'm
So
just
did
saying.
inoculation, but inoculation has been a thing since 10th century China. We have documented cases
I
in the
believe you.
17th century from Turkey, which Cotton Mather was super into. He loved getting documents from Turkey at the same time, like
Those
concordant
Muslims
with when he lived.
good at documenting.
They were. They still are, honestly.
Yeah.
But they were at that point too. So inoculation was a huge thing from Turkey. Cotton Mather only got turned on to the concept of inoculation because of Onesimus, his
Okay.
slave,
Okay.
who had been given to him by the parish that he was serving at the time. So he was their pastor. He worked for a parish, and the parish got together, since he had like 16 children or something at
Dear
the time.
God.
He had a total of 3 or 4 wives, lots of kids. He needed a lot of help.
But very pure and holy and stuff.
Very pure and holy.
So many wives.
So the parish got together and they bought him a slave called Onesimus. And Onesimus was the one who turned him on to these Turkish
None of these people read the New Testament.
documents, because Onesimus had been inoculated before he was kidnapped in Africa.
Fancy.
His whole
The
community
Dark Continent.
had been inoculated against smallpox decades before he was kidnapped and brought to America to be sold as a slave to this weird ass Puritan.
No, nobody knew anything in Africa. You're lying.
I'm obviously lying. Nobody knew anything in Africa,
was the
especially not
Dark
inoculation. So once
Where
Onesimus was like,
They
you
were
should totally
cannibals
look into
and
Turkey's
heathens.
documentaries on this whole thing that they've already done and brought into our community. So Cotton Mather was one of the most forefront minds in science, because after the witch trials, the witch
I am
trials,
a very model of a modern major general.
exactly.
Yes.
Witch trials are in 1692 through 1694, essentially. In the early 1700s, so 1706 through 1719, was when the smallpox epidemics came into the forefront. And everybody was concerned about them / fighting them. And Onesimus is the one who told Cotton Mather, you should be worried about this. This is how you should fix this. Cotton Mather became the most expert in science. And that is how he became able to help found Yale. Was because of Onesimus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
Perfect.
I don't know. I'm sure they have their own song.
I'm sure they do.
I don't know. I've never been there.
I know we did the dun 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 dun
Yes.
dun dun dun.
Yes, we did.
Which goes, God bless the school that D.L. Moody founded. Firm may it stand, though by foes of truth surrounded.
They probably spoke Gaelic.
They
Those folks.
probably did. But anyways,
Poor Gaelic. I love Gaelic, just for the record.
in just a little bit of justice, Onesimus was named one of the 100 most important Bostonians ever.
Who was?
Onesimus.
Oh, good. That sounds accurate.
It was accurate. But going back to Salem, this is before he had Onesimus. And one of the other things that we need to address is that the witch trials in America, the witches were not burned. They were hung. They were lynched. Because
Right.
lynching is a
That's
very
a whole
American
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
That's that's one of the things. Spectral
Yeah, no,
evidence is
that-
actually something that Cotton Mather spoke against.
Yeah, burning was like a European thing.
Yeah, it was.
And lynching is an American thing.
But spectral evidence, the one where you say, I saw this woman in ghost form, and that is how she afflicted me. Cotton Mather actually spoke against that, but by that point, it was too late to take back what he had already said in the pamphlets that he had published to these people.
Hmm.
They had taken what he said and assumed a lot into it
Yeah. Like
in
people
Salem
do.
Village. And
because
that's
they
how it
were
came.
mad at people and bored.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe they weren't bored, but they were definitely mad at people.
I mean, I would be bored.
Yeah. You couldn't go watch The Rookie.
You're just obsessed.
Yes. So by the time we get to Salem, Cotton Mather was like, I don't know, I wrote this stuff, but I don't know. Is that what you're saying?
No, he wrote that stuff and he was standing by it. And then when they were actually like, we're gonna kill people over it, he was like, I just don't think that's admissible in a court of law.
It's not. That's what we call lynching.
Yep.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's like a vigilante justice.
It is very vigilante justice.
Yeah.
And they viewed that positively at the time. So they accused this group of middle school girls, for lack of a better collective term. They accused one person first. They were like, this person has been afflicting us. And everybody was like, okay, sure, whatever. They did not care. But then someone had another slave from South America, and her name was Tituba. And they were trying to prove this with Tituba's help, because Tituba was apparently a fortune teller because she came from South America. And obviously everybody from South America is a fortune teller. So she was like trying to help them figure out what the professions will be of their future spouses. And she was just trying to help them in general. And because of that, they were like, oh yes, she was totally one of the witches as well. And by the time everything ended, approximately 19 people had been lynched over all of this. Which is very unfortunate. Because it was one of those, essentially these were homeschool people in Salem Village. and they had taken this nationalism and Puritanism and caked them together until those were the bad people. We'll all be fine if we can kill those people.
By nationalism, you're like Salem villagism nationalism.
Exactly.
Like very local.
Right, but that's what we're talking about in
Nationalism.
homeschoolism, yes.
Yeah.
Is this very
Well,
this very condensed version of what a human is and what
no, it's a strong tie to a location and
yes.
A geographical patriotism.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when they went into the houses of all these people, they were able to find things that were poppets or what we would call today essentially potpourri.
The actual smelly good stuff, not the Pope.
Actual smelly good stuff and not the potpourri.
Oh, jeez, man.
Very different. Books that had like palmistry or how to read the lines on a palm, and horoscopes, something that mentioned horoscopes, or ointments.
Just stuff people had.
Anything that had an ointment, anybody who had lotion, they were like, yeah, you're obviously a witch.
Right.
And then they
were just looking for
they
things
would look
to...
for anything that they called witches' tits. They actually called them witches' teats, which is just any mole in a place that they thought was suspicious. So you would look over the skin of the person and be like, ah, yes, this mole is obviously a witch's teat. It looks kind of similar to a nipple.
It sounds very much like what they do to women in the whole transgender genitalia checking thing.
Tell me more about that.
Well, that's like the whole thing with making laws about transgender people in sports, and because how do you know if somebody's transgender or not, right? And so there's like there's the you can do the like chromosome check, which is not helpful because intersex people exist. But then, like, that's not enough. So,
also, it's expensive, and the athlete usually needs to pay for it.
Yeah, and most, well, and like, if you're a cisgender woman getting a chromosomal test, it could, like, again, intersex people exist, and chromosome, the only options are not XX and XY. Like, there's lots of different options. And I don't consider myself an expert enough to sit here and list them all, but there's more options than XX and XY. And there's even just, like, because your gender presentation isn't just based on chromosomes. It's also based on that and other factors, including hormones at birth and all sorts of things. Which, again, I'm not an expert, so I'm not going to try and go into all that at the moment, but so they have that test, but also they're just gonna like look at your genitals, right? Like the privacy invasion of, I mean, that's what I mean when I'm talking about.
It's like forcing you to make an OnlyFans.
Yeah, well, yeah,
it's insane.
They're it's pulled out of your pants and check your genitals.
Yeah.
And who does it affect? Women, of course. They're not doing this to men. Why? I don't know. Transgender men exist. But no, they decided that transgender women are the problem. And so they're going to just check women. And not that I'm saying they should check men. I'm not saying that. That would be terrible also.
Well, but it's another case of misogyny.
It's interesting
in that case, right?
how it's just misogyny. And
well, and in the Salem witch trials, a couple men were tried.
Mm-hmm.
Out of 19, there were 2 men who were suspected of this. And one of them had rocks piled on top of him until he couldn't breathe for 2 days. to try to make him confess. And he didn't, because there was nothing to confess, so he died. But primarily it's women.
Oh, yeah.
It's always women.
Strong
That's always the
misogyny.
problem.
Yeah.
And at this point, Increase Mather had resigned from Harvard. And Cotton Mather was a huge part of Yale. And Increase actually published a work decrying Cotton at this point. So the father is saying, my son's insane. And that was called Cases of Conscience Concerning Evil Spirits. And that was at the same time as Cotton Mather's Wonders. And he was supposed to try to maintain that his son was okay in doing things, but also minimize the involvement of both of them. So they were both at this point trying to be like, oh, I had nothing to do with this, this had nothing to do with me, none of what I say has anything to do with anything, which is one of the huge things that we see in theology right now. Which is the pipeline. And this is a pipeline that we admit to, but nobody else in our families admits to, which is like, it's a pipe. Theology is a pipe. Those who are at the top of the theology are at the top of the pipe. If what is happening at the bottom of the pipe is bad, say, taking advantage of women, taking sexual advantage of children, if it's bad, if it's anti-immigration, if all of that is happening at the bottom of the pipe, then further up this aqueduct of pipe, something not great is happening. And the reversal of that is our family saying, oh, everything up the pipe is great. It's just that what we made the pipe out of is not awesome. Yeah. But this was the same thing, but in 1693, Cotton and Increase Mather are saying everything we say at this end of the pipe is beautiful and perfect, and everything that anybody could want is perfect. If anything happens between what we say and the people that we are teaching,
well, and the people
anything
that
that
dying,
happens between then and people dying is bad,
yeah,
then it's not us. It's a problem with the aqueduct.
Yeah. Or the people.
Or the people.
Yeah.
And it's a plumbing problem. It's a plumbing problem.
Right. Not whatever's going into the pipes.
Not whatever's going into the
interesting.
pipes.
That's interesting. I never thought about it that way. But that is how they think about it.
That's how I think about it. Because that's how I've told my parents about it.
Right.
Or tried to. And they deny it, of course.
Well, no, but I mean, I mean is that, like, I think of it as what's going into the pipes is the same thing that's coming out of the pipes, and it's bad all the way through. Right? Like, that's what like, that's my interpretation of evangelical theology. What's going in is just the same thing that's coming out, and it's all bad, right? Just like you put the water in the front of the pipe and it comes out in the same way, right? But you're saying that Cotton Mather and Increase were saying, and lots of other people probably, that like something was happening in the middle where like something else was getting into the pipes to make whatever was in there bad when it came out. But what we're saying is good when we put it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, which that's such a good picture of the cognitive dissonance that we have about theology.
Because my family are very high up in it, so they're like the people putting things into the pipes.
Yeah, for sure.
So
yeah, any pastor is putting stuff in
exactly.
The pipes.
So what my family thinks is, when we put things into the pipes, it comes down, and sometimes the pipes are just wrong. so it comes out wrong.
Right.
And we can't fix that.
Something's
Although
leaching into the pipes.
Something is leaching into them, and maybe we can fix that if we figure out what's coming from.
Yeah.
And what I have told them as I have come out of religion is the pipes are fine.
Right.
The pipes are doing good.
It's just what pipes do.
They're doing pipe things.
they're just
As
pipes.
aqueducts have done for thousands of years,
Right.
they are transporting things appropriately. What's coming into them is probably the problem.
Yeah.
If your pipes are made of limestone, the lead poisoning is coming from upstream. And that's what my family has trouble understanding, is because they assume that the pipes are the problem and not that the source is the problem.
Yeah. No, that's so common.
And that's exactly what happened in
Because you have to
Salem.
believe the source is pure.
Yes.
That's the whole
Because
thing.
if you don't believe that the source is pure, you have no reason to continue with the religion.
Right. Yeah.
But if you take the chance and be like, hey, the call is coming from inside the house. The problem in the water is coming from the water and not the pipes. Because the pipes are transmitting everything that the pipes need to transmit.
Yeah.
But the water itself is a problem. That's when you start to discover
Well, and what was
something is not going.
what was in the source water for Cotton Mather? It was manifest destiny. It was misogyny.
It was anti-Anglicanism.
Yeah, it was fear of
Which is-
foreigners.
Which is part of where
Oh yeah.
the
just
entire
Anglicanism.
homeschool thing comes
I'm
from.
right and you're wrong.
Exactly. I'm more right, you're more wrong.
Fundamentalists.
I need to do this, you need to not.
Yeah.
It's Puritanism, which came to become fundamentalism.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The whole idea that I'm more right and you're more wrong. And I always have to be more right.
And if I'm not more right, then God will strike me down as I stand, because he would never stand for me to be less right.
And I'll just make stuff up to make you be more wrong. That's the crazy part. Which I think is why, like, people in charge start saying, well, that's not what I said. Right? Because people will literally start making stuff up to be more right. The problem is, the people at the top, all they told them was to be more right. Right? And they think that gets scary when people start making stuff up to be more right, but they're following the flow. It's the same water, right? Be more right. That's the main thing. You have to be more pure. You have to be more right. That's the most important thing.
You're still following the aqueduct.
Yeah.
You're following the aqueduct all the way down.
Yeah. And maybe you took it another step, but it's the same thing.
Well, and that's one of the biggest things that I told my family when I was coming out of the whole thing was, if this is what's coming out of the aqueduct at every point I can see, I'm going to have to look farther up.
Yeah.
Because what you told me was, it's just one person who's wrong. But if every single person I'm seeing is wrong, and you taught me about agriculture, if every single person in this field is wrong, chances are there's a problem farther up. And then every single person I'm seeing in this province, is what I said at that point, is wrong, then I'm going to have to look farther up. And if every single person I'm seeing in this country or region is wrong, I'm going to have to look farther up. And once you look farther and farther and farther and farther up, what you see is Christian nationalism being the primary seed in an aqueduct of wrong thinking and angry people.
Yeah. Well, and it stems from just fear of people who are different.
Which
And
is
ideas
so
that are
ironic, considering most of these people were missionaries.
Well, right, but they want to make it the same and not different. Right? Like that's often the goal of missionaryism. That's a weird word. That I probably just made up.
That's
But
okay.
is to make people the same instead of different, right? Like, and it's amazing how people can immerse themselves in a totally different world and culture and still hold to, I'm the one changing this culture I'm in to be the same as me, right? Like that's the
Well,
idea.
but that's
That's what
manifest
being
destiny.
yeah, it's the same thing. That is what manifest
They're
destiny is.
obviously going to recognize that I'm the most right.
Yes, it's trying, it's being the, it's like, and it works a lot, is the crazy thing. Right?
It does.
Like, it works. Missionaries have got, like, South America is so Christian right now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because people have been dedicated to this idea of going somewhere and making the people be like them. And they worked really hard to do it. And they presented this nice sounding thing. And people are like, yeah, that sounds good. We will also not like people that are different than us. I mean, you know, they presented an idea that was not too unpopular like that, right? Like, I will be the most pure and the most holy, and everybody else will be evil. Like, I mean, it wasn't the, like, I feel like that's somehow, I don't know, what is it about humans that want to be the most holy and right? What is that, man?
Manifest destiny.
Why do
It's
we like
manifest
that?
destiny.
Why do we like that? It is, but why do we like? It's not good. Like, I just trying to think, evolutionarily speaking, how do we get to?
We like to be the one who lords it over the others.
Right. Where do we get such an obsession with power? Why did that become such a human thing?
Okay, so the sprinkler's down here. The hose is up here. City water's up here. And the obsession with power is all the way up here. We love it because
I
it
know.
makes us feel like we have more power than we actually do.
Why? You just said what I said, but why? We love power, and we like power. What is the quote? Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
And like, as far as I can tell, that's almost always the case. Why? What is wrong with us? I don't even have an answer to this question that I'm asking towards the end of this podcast. So that's probably not a good idea. But it bugs me. Like, what is it about power in humans that, like, it messes humans up?
It does.
It messes us
and
up.
we base it on a pretend authority.
Well, for sure, it's always fake.
These people based it on Cotton Mather, who eventually was one of the fathers of science because he was one of the people who initially, in theory,
He endorsed inoculation.
he endorsed
Only
inoculation, and he also believed in
of Onesimus.
yes, Onesimus. He was also one of the first people who publicly endorsed how you should actually like breed plants to be more productive in certain environments.
Mendel stuff.
Very Mendel stuff, yes, but he was one of the first people who was actually put on record as saying that sort of thing, which is very interesting, and I probably had nothing to do with this brilliant person Onesimus who taught him basically everything he knows. But we base it on a lot of strange things that we probably should not base things on. And this person, Cotton Mather, specifically, founder of Yale, incredibly influential in Harvard. Also indirectly responsible for the deaths of 25 people in the Salem witch trials.
Right. And it was teenagers being like, these people are being mean to me.
Yep.
And I mean, honestly, that's how I feel about how do I say this? Yeah, I'll just say it. ICE. Like, those people look different than me.
Oh
Who
no!
cares?
Oh
Like,
no! Not different from you!
they speak a different language. No. Like, it's 2026. You don't know that their people speak a different language than you? Like, literally Donald J. Trump in the year 2029 said, and I quote, "Nobody speaks Spanish." In response to Bad Bunny being the halftime entertainer for the Super Bowl, Donald J. Trump said, "Nobody speaks Spanish."
Ignoring the entire thing where Spain exists.
Spain, Spain and South America, which is huge.
Huge.
And the Spanish-speaking,
It's huge.
Spanish-speaking portion of the United States, which is also huge.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
So, 1689 through 1693. Salem witch trials. December 17th, 1696, the General Court ruled that there would be a fast day on January 14th, 1697.
That's not a day that goes fast, it's a day where you don't eat.
Yes. Yep. Referring to the late tragedy raised among us by Satan and his instruments, where everyone in Salem Village was expected to not eat because Satan did a thing. And we just have to, acknowledge that.
Right, but it's the same thing that's happening now. That's
It
the
is.
same thing as transgender people are infecting us with their what's the mind virus thing? The liberal mind virus. Woke mind virus. That's what it's called. I don't know. But it's the same thing.
Here's your hope. The Salem Village Church voted on February 14th, 1703, after nearly 2 months of consideration, to reverse the excommunication of one of the peoples who was murdered during the witch trials. You good?
Yeah.
October 17th, 1711, the General Court passed a bill reversing the judgment against the 22 people listed in the 1709 petition. There were 7 additional people who had been convicted but had not signed the petition. There was no reversal of attainder for them.
So
There was an obelisk-shaped granite memorial erected in the memory of Rebecca Nurse in 1885.
her name is Rebecca Nurse, and they erected an obelisk.
Mm-hmm.
What is wrong with people? It's a phallic. An obelisk. Why?
It was in memory of the innocents who died during the Salem witch hysteria test.
Okay. Good for them. They
But
don't
not
understand
all of the
imagery,
condemned
but okay.
had yet been. You're a problem. They had not
Try,
necessarily
people, try.
been included as part of that.
Do a tulip or something. Why an obelisk? Like 19 women died. Yes, we will erect an obelisk to all these women.
Oh my god. They did erect an obelisk. It was super erectional
Yeah, very erectional.
and had lots of.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be so
Erections.
controversial to erect a tulip?
Tess, you're such a problem.
I strive to become so.
In 2016, the University of Virginia announced that it had determined the execution site in Gallows Hill in Salem, where 19 witches had been hanged in public. They used GPR, or ground penetrating radar. We're not calling it Gator. Calm down. To survey what became known as Proctor's Ledge at the base of the hill, which was previously known as Gallows Hill. And the Proctor's Ledge Memorial was finished in 2017.
So how does that reflect where we are now?
You know,
in your opinion?
Because it was a hysteria based on really poorly researched evidence, which was retracted.
No.
Which reflects very well where we are now. Because a lot of where we are now is based on very poor evidence.
Like what?
Like,
I believe you, I'm just curious.
no, I mean like where we are now, or like bad evidence?
What's an example of something being portrayed with bad evidence now? As factual.
Gaza.
What about Gaza?
Gaza has been portrayed as the people who are trying to murder Israel, and
Okay.
they're
It's
not.
totally the other way around. It's like totally backwards.
It's very backwards,
Yes.
which is very
They were
similar.
just there and living there, and then Israel showed up. It was like, you shouldn't be here.
Exactly.
If you research it.
The best thing that has happened so far in Salem is the theory that rye bread, which was abnormally infected with mushrooms, made people see things that they didn't see.
Oh, that
That's-
sounds like fun.
It obviously was not fun for a lot of people, Tess, so I don't know why you're saying that. I would love to think that where Christian nationalism is now was just a result of mushrooms, but they are so widely based that I just cannot think that that is the thing that's actually happening. We got to where we are now by buying in to ridiculous theories about what God had to say about what we are doing. And a lot of those were predicated on the beliefs of those who made Harvard and Yale. And that's really sad. Because
Well, it wasn't even so much like God says this. It was also, I mean, they attached that to it, but like it was like these people are evil and worthy. Like, well, like what you talked in the beginning. These people are evil, so you should do everything you can to get rid of them.
mm-hmm.
Right? That's the. I think that's the this full circle. Like we've like, how do you determine people are evil? And in the Salem witch trials, it was based on this guy who wrote about this child behavioral situation with a very spiritualized point of view.
Because he believed that it was a result of witches.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was the witches and the devil, and that made it evil to be a woman with odd behavior. However you want to describe odd behavior. However they want to describe odd behavior. And that's how you get to the Salem witch trials, right? Is we've determined that this odd behavior is evil.
Mm.
And it's going to cause our children to go to hell. So it must be eradicated immediately. And And that's how they convinced people to do that, right? You would have to, like, people don't just kill people.
No, it has to come from further up the pipeline.
Yeah, you have to have, well, like for me, like even me sitting here saying I would have to have a good reason, right, before I decided something was evil. I don't think I'm alone
Before you
in
decided that one obelisk on your street specifically was enough for you to go all haywire on.
Yeah, something I'd have to be convinced in my own mind enough, and I think that's a common human experience, but like there's different. I've had a different. Yeah, never mind. The world was. What am I trying to say? There was a strong belief in the devil at that time, right? And then to just say, oh, it's the devil is in that person, was a believable thing to say, right? Like now, that's not a terribly believable thing to say in most circles.
Wow.
I said most.
With the exception of some circles that we were part of course.
Yeah, for sure. That's true. But on average, that's not probably going to convince a bunch of people to lynch somebody at this point in history. But at this point in history, it's not, oh, that person's the devil. It's, oh, that person is a terrorist. Right? That's what you say now. And they say it because they're the color brown. Right? That's the only evidence they have. Because terrorists come from the part of the world where people are brown.
And I am.
Which is as ridiculous as saying that they're possessed by the devil. It's the same level of thought process. Right? It's the same level of judicial inquiry. To say that person's a terrorist because they're brown, as is to say that person is evil because they're possessed by the devil. Right? It's the same level of critical thought. And it's just, changed terminology in 200 years. 400 years? I guess it's 400 years.
Close enough, though.
And we still haven't decided as a society as a whole that we should apply a greater level of critical thought and compassion towards other humans than we did 400 years ago to determining whether or not somebody is innocent or guilty.
Yep.
Which is insane.
It is.
Like that is sad. It's so sad.
It is. On the bright side, in 1711, on October 17th, the General Court passed a bill reversing the judgment against the 22 people listed in the 1709 petition. There were 7 additional people who had been convicted but not signed the petition. And those 22 people were authorized monetary compensation.
When was this?
1711.
No, when was the thing? Oh. Okay.
1711.
It was 1711.
In 1712, Reverend Nicholas Noyes and members of the Salem Church reversed Noyes' earlier excommunications of Rebecca Nurse and Giles Corey, who had been convicted.
Were they alive still?
No, they were dead.
They were dead, but just not
They
excommunicated
had been lynched.
anymore.
Yes.
Woohoo!
Rebecca Nurse's descendants erected a memorial in her memory in 1885. It was an obelisk. Tess, calm down about it. In 1957, descendants of the 6 people who had been wrongly convicted and executed but not included in the 1711 bill for reversal demanded that the General Court formally clear the names of their family members, and an act was passed proclaiming the innocence of those accused, but it only listed one by name. The others were listed only as certain other persons.
That sounds like a miserable failure.
I know. In the 1950s, several bones were reinterred, including those of George Jacobs Sr. in the Rebecca Nurse homestead. Yep. The final proclamation of innocence by
They
all of
interred a
these
dude?
people. No, he was one of the. He was one of the two men who had been.
Oh, good.
lynched.
They figured out one of the dudes.
Yeah,
That
they
figures.
did.
Jeez.
More than 300 years later, October 31st, 2001, Governor Jane Swift was the final one to add a resolution that all were proclaimed innocent.
Just 400 years later.
More than 300, but yes, nearly 400.
Yeah. Well, we're still doing the same thing.
We are.
Madness. We're still checking genitals. We're still calling people terrorists. This is madness.
You're a witch to us.
I'm apparently.
How dare you?
Weird people.
How dare you? We haven't changed.
I'm a very cute witch.
You are a very cute witch.
Okay, there you go.
But you know, from
I'm not in too much danger of being lynched. I'll give society that.
we will give Cotton Mather one thing. Cotton Mather was responsible for a lot of this. From 1692 to 1694, a lot of people benefited very poorly from what he wrote. Onesimus, the wonderful person who ended up enslaved to his household, changed his mind to where after the death by most of his family by smallpox in the early 1710s, Onesimus was able to make Cotton Mather one of the first proponents of inoculations against smallpox. Cotton Mather was able to reverse course in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways he wasn't. But I feel that learning from people who challenge your worldview should be what is taken from this. Cotton Mather was responsible for the deaths of at least 25 people. But he was also responsible for being one of the primary voices behind inoculation for smallpox. And that was not because of him. That was because of Onesimus. People should be allowed to reverse course.
No, for sure.
Also, fuck Cotton Mather.
Yeah. Oh dear. One of those.
One of those, I'm real glad that he tried to do some shit, but oh my god. This man was a problem. And I'm still real angry at him. And I'm allowed to be. Because he's part of our theological pipeline that has continued Christian nationalism until this day.
I feel like there are not a lot of positive takeaways from this.
The positive takeaways are, can you please just fucking listen to people who did not grow up in the same way you did? Because they might tell you about smallpox inoculations. Which they were doing in Africa in the 1600s.
And stop erecting obelisks to women.
I don't feel like people are ever going to stop erecting obelisks. People are just a huge fan of erections. But Salem was not just a random thing. It was absolutely a product of fear and an unfortunate religious worldview. And you did not have to propagate that.
Sure.
That is what I would have you take away.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So please burn your Rebecca books.
And obelisks.
can't burn obelisks, Tess. They're made of limestone.
If you get it hot enough, you can.
Have you ever tried to burn limestone?
It was a great send-off.
It was a great send, but it's not a realistic send-off. It can. Send-off was supposed to be about how fear overrides justice and evidence. And instead, it's the entirely unrealistic view of you can totally destroy limestone with fire.
That's right. If it's hot enough. That's my solution to most problems. You just have to be hot enough.
Limestone doesn't care how hot you are. I'm gonna put this on a t-shirt. That's gonna be our very first merch. Limestone doesn't care how hot you are. And it's gonna have limestone with an overlay of a limestone obelisk and Cotton Mather's face. It's gonna be the first merch. You have to have vinegar, Tess.
I am vinegar.
I thought you were fire.
Yes. Fire and vinegar.
You are such a problem. Don't forget to go to recoveringgrace.org if you are recovering from IBLP teachings/Abeka teachings.
Yes. Be fire and vinegar.
Be fire and vinegar. And please look things up on literally anything aside from your church's website.